Hello, America, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a developing story that's sending shockwaves through the political landscape. Allegations of mortgage fraud leveled against New York Attorney General Letitia James. This is a story with layers, involving high-profile figures, complex legal claims, and the ever-present backdrop of political polarization. The core of the allegation stems from documents indicating discrepancies in mortgage applications filed by Letitia James. Specifically, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, has made a criminal referral to the Department of Justice, DOJ, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, concerning these alleged irregularities. The accusations center on two key points. Firstly, there are claims that James misrepresented the residency status of a property in Norfolk, Virginia, to secure more favorable mortgage terms. It is being said that James claimed the property as her primary residence, even though her official position as New York Attorney General requires her to reside in New York State. Secondly, allegations involve a property in Brooklyn, New York, where James is accused of misrepresenting the number of units in the building on mortgage documents. It's claimed that she listed the property as a 4-unit dwelling, while official records reportedly indicate it as a 5-unit building. The suggestion is that this misrepresentation may have been made to meet the criteria for a conforming loan and thus obtain better interest rates. These allegations were brought to light by William Pulte, the director of the FHFA. In a letter obtained by news outlets, Pulte outlined the evidence suggesting that James has, in multiple instances, falsified bank documents and property records to acquire government-backed assistance and loans and more favorable loan terms. Adding a historical dimension to the allegations, reports also surfaced concerning mortgage documents from the 1980s and 2000s related to the Brooklyn property. These documents allegedly listed James and her father as husband and wife. While dating back several years, these details have been highlighted in the context of the current scrutiny. The timing of these allegations is particularly noteworthy. Letitia James has been a prominent legal adversary of the previous administration and secured a significant civil fraud judgment against him and his organization. This historical context inevitably adds a layer of political intrigue to the current situation. Initial reactions have been swift and varied. Supporters of James have dismissed the allegations as politically motivated, a retaliatory move following her legal actions. A spokesperson for James's office stated that she is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers, especially as this administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. Conversely, critics argue that these are serious allegations that deserve thorough investigation. They point to the apparent inconsistencies in the documents as potential evidence of wrongdoing. Legal experts have weighed in, explaining that if proven, the alleged actions could potentially constitute civil or even criminal fraud, depending on the intent and the materiality of the misrepresentations. Attorney General Pam Bondi has acknowledged the referral from the FHFA and stated that the DOJ is reviewing the matter. However, she also mentioned in a media interview that she had only just learned about the specifics of the allegations through news reports. This suggests that the review process is in its early stages. This unfolding story raises several critical questions. What is the strength of the evidence presented by the FHFA? How will the Department of Justice proceed with its review? And what are the potential political ramifications of these allegations for Letitia James and the broader political landscape? We will continue to follow these developments closely. Now, let's delve deeper into the role of Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice's review. Pam Bondi, a former Attorney General of Florida, has a reputation as a staunch conservative and a vocal critic of what she perceives as political overreach. Her appointment to the DOJ has been viewed by some as a sign of a more aggressive approach to investigations and prosecutions. Her public statements regarding the Letitia James allegations have been carefully worded. She has acknowledged the FHFA referral and confirmed that the DOJ is reviewing the matter. However, she has also emphasized that this is a preliminary stage and that no conclusions have been drawn. The DOJ's review process is likely to involve several key steps. Firstly, they will need to thoroughly examine the documents provided by the FHFA, including the mortgage applications, property records, and any supporting evidence. They will also need to interview relevant witnesses, including individuals involved in the mortgage transactions and real estate experts. A critical aspect of the review will be determining the intent behind the alleged misrepresentations. Was there a deliberate attempt to deceive lenders and obtain more favorable loan terms? Or were these simply unintentional errors or misunderstandings? Proving intent is often a challenging task in fraud cases. Legal experts have pointed out that the DOJ will need to assess the materiality of the alleged misrepresentations. In other words, did these misrepresentations have a significant impact on the mortgage transactions? Did they result in financial losses for lenders or government agencies? The FHFA that made the criminal referral oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Therefore, if there were any falsifications on the mortgage applications, this would be a federal issue. The political implications of the DOJ's review are significant. Letitia James is a prominent figure in the Democratic Party, and any criminal charges against her would have far-reaching consequences. It could potentially damage her political career and create a major distraction for the Democratic Party. Conversely, if the DOJ decides not to pursue charges, it could be seen as a vindication for James and her supporters. They could argue that the allegations were politically motivated and that the DOJ's review confirmed her innocence. The timing of the review is also noteworthy. With the upcoming election cycle, any developments in this case are likely to be heavily scrutinized and politicized. The DOJ will need to navigate this sensitive situation carefully to maintain its credibility. It is also important to note that the DOJ is under pressure to show that it is not politically motivated. The public perception of the DOJ is very important, and the department will want to avoid any appearance of impropriety. The media is playing a significant role in shaping public opinion on this matter. News outlets are reporting on every development, and social media is buzzing with speculation and commentary. The narrative is constantly evolving, and it is essential to stay informed about the latest developments. The next phase of the story will likely involve the DOJ's investigative steps. We will be watching closely for any announcements from the DOJ regarding subpoenas, witness interviews, or other investigative actions. The public and all parties involved are waiting to see what the next steps are. This story is far from over. As the DOJ's review unfolds, the political battlefield surrounding Letitia James intensifies. This case has become a lightning rod for political debate, with both sides seizing on the allegations to advance their agendas. Supporters of James are rallying to her defense, portraying the allegations as a politically motivated attack. They point to her track record of holding powerful figures accountable, suggesting that this investigation is an attempt to silence her. Social media campaigns are underway, with hashtags like #StandWithTish trending, aimed at showing public support for the Attorney General. Conversely, critics are seizing on the allegations as evidence of hypocrisy and double standards. They argue that James, who has built her career on upholding the law, should be held to the same standards as anyone else. Conservative commentators are highlighting the alleged discrepancies in the mortgage documents, demanding a thorough and impartial investigation. The public perception of this case is being shaped by a complex interplay of factors. Partisanship plays a significant role, with individuals often aligning their views based on their political affiliations. However, there is also a genuine interest in the facts of the case and a desire for accountability. The media is playing a crucial role in shaping public perception. News outlets are reporting on every development, often with a partisan slant. Social media platforms are amplifying these narratives, creating an echo chamber effect where individuals are primarily exposed to information that confirms their existing biases. The role of social media influencers and online commentators is particularly noteworthy. They are often able to reach large audiences with unfiltered and sometimes unverified information. This can contribute to the spread of misinformation and the polarization of public opinion. The legal complexities of the case also contribute to the confusion and debate. Mortgage fraud cases can be intricate, involving technical legal terms and financial jargon. This can make it difficult for the public to understand the nuances of the allegations and the potential consequences. Adding to the complexity are the older documents that have surfaced. These documents, while old, have added fuel to the fire and have allowed for many to cast doubt on the character of Letitia James. It is important to remember that the DOJ's review is still in its early stages. No charges have been filed, and Letitia James is presumed innocent until proven guilty. However, The allegations themselves have already had a significant impact on her reputation and the political landscape. The upcoming election cycle casts a long shadow over this case. The allegations could potentially become a major campaign issue, with both sides using them to mobilize their bases. The DOJ will need to be mindful of the political implications of its actions, as any decisions it makes could be interpreted as politically motivated. The Justice Department is under a microscope, and the American people are waiting for answers. The balance of justice and political neutrality will be a hard line to walk. The outcome of the review will have significant implications for Letitia James, the Democratic Party, and the broader political landscape. To understand the potential legal ramifications of the allegations against Letitia James, it's crucial to delve deeper into the nature of mortgage fraud and the types of evidence that the DOJ might be examining. At its core, mortgage fraud involves the intentional misrepresentation or omission of information in order to obtain a mortgage loan or to obtain a larger loan or better terms than would otherwise be available. This can take various forms, including misstating income, assets, or the intended use of the property, as well as providing false information about the property itself, such as its occupancy or the number of units. In this specific case, the allegations center on two key areas: residency and the number of units in a property. The claim that James misrepresented the residency of the Norfolk property to secure a more favorable mortgage hinges on demonstrating that she did not intend to use it as her primary residence, despite claiming otherwise on the loan documents. Evidence that could support this claim might include records of her primary residence in New York, utility bills, tax filings, and witness testimony. The allegation regarding the Brooklyn property involves the alleged misrepresentation of the number of units. To substantiate this, investigators would likely compare the information provided on the mortgage applications with official building records such as permits, tax assessments, and certificates of occupancy. Discrepancies between these documents could suggest an intentional misrepresentation. If the DOJ finds sufficient evidence of intentional misrepresentation and that these misrepresentations were material to the mortgage decisions, Letitia James could potentially face both civil and criminal charges. On the civil side, lenders or government agencies like the FHFA could pursue legal action to recover any financial losses incurred as a result of the alleged fraud. This could involve demanding repayment of the loan, along with penalties and interest. On the criminal side, potential charges could include bank fraud, wire fraud, or making false statements to a financial institution. The specific charges and potential penalties would depend on the severity of the alleged offenses and the applicable federal and state laws. Conviction on federal mortgage fraud charges can carry significant penalties, including substantial fines and imprisonment. Legal experts emphasize that proving intent is a critical element in any fraud case. Prosecutors would need to demonstrate beyond a reasonable doubt that Letitia James knowingly and intentionally provided false information with the aim of deceiving lenders. This can be a challenging hurdle, as it requires demonstrating a state of mind. The historical mortgage documents related to the Brooklyn property, while dating back several years, could be relevant if they demonstrate a pattern of alleged misrepresentation or if they shed light on the ownership and occupancy history of the property. However, the legal significance of these older documents would need to be carefully assessed in the context of current allegations. The DOJ's review will likely involve a meticulous examination of all relevant documents and testimony. Investigators will be looking for inconsistencies, patterns, and any evidence that suggests a deliberate attempt to deceive. It is important to reiterate that these are just allegations at this stage, and Letitia James has not been charged with any crime. The DOJ's review will determine whether there is sufficient evidence to warrant further legal action. The process could take considerable time, and the outcome remains uncertain. The American public, and indeed the legal and political communities, are waiting to see how the evidence stacks up and what the DOJ's next steps will be. As we reach this stage of our discussion, it's important to step back and consider the broader implications of this unfolding story. The allegations against a sitting attorney general of a major state like New York have ramifications that extend far beyond the individual involved. Firstly, these allegations inevitably erode public trust in government institutions and elected officials. When a high-ranking law enforcement officer faces accusations of legal wrongdoing, it can fuel cynicism and skepticism about the integrity of the justice system itself. This erosion of trust can have a corrosive effect on civic engagement and the overall health of our democracy. Secondly, the case highlights the intense political polarization that currently defines American society. The swift and often partisan reactions to the allegations underscore the deep divisions that exist and the tendency for individuals to view such matters through a political lens. This can make it difficult to have a nuanced and objective discussion about the facts and the legal process. Thirdly, the scrutiny faced by Letitia James serves as a reminder of the high standards to which public officials are held, and arguably should be held. Those who are entrusted with upholding the law are expected to adhere to it scrupulously in their own lives. Any perceived deviation from these standards can lead to significant public outcry and calls for accountability. The role of the media in this saga is also a crucial point to consider. The 24/7 news cycle and the proliferation of social media mean that every development, every rumor, and every opinion is amplified and disseminated rapidly. This can create a challenging environment for both the individual under scrutiny and for the investigators seeking to uncover the truth. Maintaining objectivity and avoiding premature judgments becomes paramount in such a climate. For Letitia James, the ongoing review presents a significant challenge. Regardless of the ultimate outcome, her reputation has already been affected by these allegations. The cloud of suspicion can be difficult to dispel, even if she is ultimately cleared of any wrongdoing. The political fallout could also impact her future career aspirations. For the Department of Justice, the handling of this case is critical. The DOJ must demonstrate that its review is thorough, impartial, and based solely on the evidence. Any perception of political bias or undue influence could damage its credibility and further erode public trust. The pressure to conduct a fair and transparent investigation is immense. In the immediate future, we are essentially in a waiting game. The DOJ will continue its review, gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and analyzing the relevant documents. This process can be lengthy, and there is no fixed timeline for when a decision will be reached. During this waiting period, the political and media narratives surrounding the case will likely continue to evolve. We can expect further commentary, analysis, and speculation from various sources. It will be crucial for viewers to remain discerning consumers of information, seeking out credible sources and avoiding the spread of unverified claims. Ultimately, the outcome of this review will have significant implications not just for Letitia James, but for the broader political and legal landscape. It will test the principles of accountability, due process, and the rule of law in a highly charged political environment. As this story continues to unfold, we will be here to provide you with the latest updates and analysis. Thank you for joining us.